When you think of a Harley-Davidson motorcycle, the first thing that pops into your mind is freedom. Whether you're watching Easy Rider, one of the many TV shows with characters riding Harleys, or simply scrolling through Instagram posts of people posing next to their bikes in front of beautiful landscapes, Harley-Davidson motorcycles have become an iconic symbol of America itself. But where did these legendary bikes actually come from? What's the story behind one of the most recognizable brands in history? Everyone. Today we're going to take a look at the Harley-Davidson Factory, how it was built, and what happened to it. So grab yourself a cup of coffee, and let's get into it. The year is 1903, and two bicycle mechanics by the name of William S. Harley and Arthur Davidson, along with their friend, industrial engineer and businessman, came up with a plan. They wanted to build a motorized bicycle and sell it for $400. This was during a time when automobiles were extremely expensive, costing around $2,000 at the time. And the only affordable way of getting around town for the working class was by bicycle. Harley-Davidson and their associate believed that they could create a motorized bicycle that would be cheaper than any automobile on the market. However, the three friends soon realized that they didn't have enough money to start a new company, so instead they reached out to some wealthy businessmen in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, who had made their fortune selling cream separators. After pitching their idea to them, the businessmen agreed to invest $6,000 into the project, which was just under half of what they needed. To raise the rest of the money, Harley and Davidson sold shares of the company to family and friends. Then, with the help of a fourth partner named Carl C. Lang, they began building engines in a small shed in Milwaukee. At the time, there weren't any fancy computer-aided design programs or CNC machines to make parts with, so everything had to be done by hand. And as you can imagine, manufacturing was quite slow. With this in mind, the partners knew that they wouldn't be able to reach mass production levels anytime soon, so they decided to focus more on racing to gain popularity. This proved to be very successful, as one of their early models, the STR, won several local races in Milwaukee. In 1906, the company began advertising its motorcycles as racers who had won numerous competitions. But the success didn't last long. During a race in 1907, a competitor accused the Harley-Davidson team of cheating after they caught wind of a rumor that Harley-Davidson had bribed the judges to win the competition. As a result, Harley-Davidson was banned from racing for 3 years, which led to a decline in sales. To make matters worse, the factory was destroyed by a tornado not long after. Despite all of this, the company's 4 partners pushed forward and decided to open a new factory on 37th Street in Milwaukee. However, this was also a failure as the building turned out to be too small. Once again, the company found itself in financial trouble, but this time, something good came of it. A man named William A.C. Lower, who worked in his father's foundry business, approached the struggling company and offered to buy their old factory on Chestnut Street and redesign it for them. In exchange, he would allow the company to use his larger factory rent-free until they were back on their feet. The offer seemed too good to be true, and it was. While Loida constructed a brand new and much larger factory for the company, he took a controlling interest in Harley-Davidson and ousted the original 4 partners. However, this gave Harley and Davidson an opportunity to start fresh and reinvent themselves. After spending the previous 5 years focusing on racing, they now had the chance to concentrate on designing a better engine. With Lawyer's help, they created a V-twin engine that had twice the power of their previous engine, but it weighed 10 pounds less. It was so advanced that even today, all Harley-Davidson motorcycles are still powered by the same V-twin engine. Not long after, Harley-Davidson began gaining popularity once again, and Lloyd realized that he had made a huge mistake by taking control of the company. To make amends, he offered the original founders a deal. He would sell back to them 1/8 of the company for $1,000. Although this wasn't very much, it was enough for Harley and Davidson to regain control of the company and pay back their investors. Now that they were back in charge, they set out to repay Lloyd's kindness by making him president of the company and giving him 1% of the stock. Under their new management, the company grew exponentially and soon outgrew their new factory. So in 1910, they purchased another plot of land nearby and began construction on a 3rd factory. This factory would eventually become the iconic home of Harley-Davidson that everybody knows today. But it wasn't always like that. At first, the plant was shared with other manufacturers, For example, the motorcycle Excelsior, which was owned by the Standard Wheel Company, used the same facility to manufacture their bikes. Fortunately, the partnership didn't last long because during World War I, the U.S. government demanded that Harley-Davidson produce engines for military aircraft. This forced Excelsior to move to a different factory. After the war ended in 1918, Harley-Davidson was left with a surplus of engines. Instead of discarding them, they designed motorcycles to accept the engines and quickly became profitable again. However, the Great Depression hit hard in the early 1930s, and Harley-Davidson almost went bankrupt. The company was saved by a man named Von H. Beeman, who purchased the company in 1931 for $500,000. Under his leadership, the company focused more on making smaller, more affordable motorcycles. For example, in 1936, they introduced the ULH model, which cost only $225, adjusted for inflation. But as the years went on, Beeman became increasingly concerned about the future of the company. He noticed that more and more Americans were buying automobiles instead of motorcycles. And by the late 1960s, the motorcycle industry had become flooded with foreign manufacturers. So in 1969, he sold the company to a holding company called American Machine and Foundry. At first, this seemed like a great move, because the new owners were willing to spend millions of dollars improving the factory and creating new models. But as the years went on, it became clear that they weren't interested in making motorcycles at all. Their goal was simply to buy the Harley-Davidson brand name and use it to make as much money as possible. As a result, they cut corners everywhere they could, including hiring inexperienced workers to build motorcycles. This caused the quality of Harley-Davidson motorcycles to decline significantly, and they lost their reputation as one of the best motorcycle manufacturers in the world. Fortunately, a group of Harley-Davidson employees felt bad about what was happening to the company that they loved so much. So, in 1981, they did something crazy. They borrowed money from friends and family, bought out American Machine and Foundry, and then set about turning the company around. The employees focused on creating high-quality motorcycles that would restore Harley-Davidson's reputation, and it worked. The company began to turn a profit again, and they were finally able to pay off their debt. But soon after, the employees ran into a problem. They had poured their hearts and souls into restoring Harley-Davidson, but they had no money left to expand. In 1985, they were forced to sell the company once again. But this time, it was to a group of investors led by an insurance executive named Von H. Beeman Jr. Although the employees were sad to see Harley-Davidson go, they knew that it was for the best. Now that the company was in the hands of experienced investors, Harley-Davidson would be able to grow and thrive. Today, the company is worth billions of dollars, and they still selling motorcycles out of the same factory that was built over 100 years ago. Thank you for watching this episode. If you enjoyed the video, please leave us a like. We would really appreciate it. Also, if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe so you never miss an upload. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.